So the latest episode of Doctor Who, which is part 2 of the premiere, taught me a lot of things about what it means to be a human being. And that is that we as humans have unlimited potential at being external hard drives. Yay. Hi guys, my name is Maria Park and this is Approach to Nerd. And in this episode we are reviewing the second part of the premiere of Doctor Who Series 12, Spyfall. And a lot happened. A lot. I think I'm just going to go over what I noticed, what I liked, and what they kind of picked up on from the last episode, because there was a lot in this episode. So I will be here all day if I try and talk about it. So let's just go from the companions crashing to their death in the burning plane. That doesn't happen. And that's because the doctor basically, we learn later on, goes to the past when the plane is being constructed and puts these little messages for Ryan, which, why did he get on the floor and look at that? I know he fell on the floor, but what if he hadn't looked in that direction? But that's a whole other question. But there's these like instructions for Ryan to go follow these arrows to like an instruction manual type thing that basically tells him he can use his phone or the app on his phone that he never installed to land the plane. And that's because the doctor installed it. So it's like, there you go. But yeah, so they land the plane and then the companions are in the hangar as Barton shows up and is told by one of the mission control people that, or I guess that's who mission control, that the companions are dead. And they go into hiding, which you can't go into hiding because you're basically being chased by Barton, who is the tech and social media guru, who can find you through your phone, which they should have thought of, but they didn't. So they smash their phones after he broadcasts all over and puts like most wanted pictures of them everywhere, all over the internet. They go into hiding, and I think they end up in like some kind of warehouse or abandoned hospital, some abandoned building or whatever, or closed building. And there's a really cute scene where both Ryan and Graham talk about the spy gear they still have. Ryan has the cufflinks that are rockets, and then Graham still has the laser shoes, but neither of them they don't know how to use it because they didn't read the manual. Of course. But it's really funny because later on Graham does get a chance to use them, and he does it like he starts dancing and shooting like at the aliens and they were coming to get them. And it's very, very hilarious. And he uses it again when Yaz and Ryan set up the Barton's guards to come and pick them up so they can overtake them and get their GPS, because Yaz decides to call home knowing that it would be traced to warn her family, but it was just in the guise of getting them to come get them and steal their car and their GPS. They take the car and the GPS back to the warehouse where Barton had just killed his mother, who there was like a scene between him and his mother where he's like, I'm like the most famous man and most powerful man on the planet. Are you, can you just say well done? And she's like, well done. So there's a lot of hate going on between mama and son. But mama becomes the first victim of the plan with the Kasavans and the Master. The Kasavans are actually an alien spy race that we learned are the names of the aliens that they basically have embedded themselves throughout all of space and time, all over the cosmos, with the purpose of, I guess, rewriting things, because that's why they're on Earth. They're on Earth. The Master, Barton, and the Kasavans have all linked together because the Master brought them together to basically wipe out humanity, because we're outdated, basically, and the only thing we're good for is being hard drives. So, yeah, that is the Master plan. And the Master's plan. No pun intended. So yeah, so that is what's going on with the companions. At the same time, the doctor was in the tendril world, and that is what I'm calling it because I don't know what it's called, but it is the like in-between gateway world the Kasavans use to travel back and forth, or people can travel back and forth via them. And while she's there, she meets a woman named Ada, who later turns out to be Ada. Well, she says Ada Gordon, but she's actually going to be Ada Lovelace. And if you know who Ada Lovelace is in history, she is considered the mother of computer programming because she created an algorithm for computations. And, Charles Babbage is also there. There's a cameo with him where, he does the Absolute, I think it's the Absolute engine. It's basically the first computer. And he works on that with Ada in history. And I think the reason they didn't take the father of computers, which is what Charles Babbage is known for, and they took Ada is because she dealt more with data and he's more of an engineer. But that's just my theory. So anyway, while they're in that little tendril world, one of the Kasavans show up and they're gonna grab Ada because Ada thinks they're guardians. She thinks she's in, hallucinating, or all this is in her mind, and this is her guardian that takes her back to the present where she's passed out on the floor, which she is. But the doctor's trying to convince her that no, these are aliens and they're kidnapping you. So she tells the doctor to grab her hand, and she does. And she's able to pull the doctor back to her time, which is 1838, might have been 37. I don't know. It was 1830 something. Anyway, it's out of my head. But anyway, so when they get back, true to form, Ada comes to, and people are like, "Oh, are you okay?" Which I think is really funny because, like, it's normal, I guess, for her to just be passed out on the floor and things just keep going. There's all these inventors showing off their inventions. So you have Charles Babbage and his, we're going to call it absolute machine or future computer. We have a man that has like these homemade grenades or for the home. So if somebody tries to rob you, just throw a grenade at them, which is really, really funny. But yeah, so the doctor is there and she's talking to Ada, and then the master shows up because he's just pretty much bouncing back and forth through time. He's ticked because the doctor is not dead. So when he comes there, he uses his shrinking machine or device and starts shrinking a couple of people, which made me question if they die automatically or do they eventually just starve and dehydrate to death? And is that what happened with O, the identity that he stole from MI6? If so, that is completely messed up. And if they are still alive for a little bit of time, it's also messed up that nobody went back to undo it. So just throwing that out there. And then also, if the master truly wanted the doctor dead, which we know technically he does and he doesn't, he would have shrunk the doctor. He did not. So therefore, all claims to wanting to kill the doctor, invalid. So, but anyway, he did want to humiliate the doctor, have the doctor get on her knees and call him master to save everybody else. And Ada was like, forget that. She uses like some kind of Gatling gun and shoots at him and then takes one of the homemade grenades and throws it at him and hurts his shoulder because Ada is not a pacifist. So she saves the doctor, and then they're back in Charles Babbage's house or study where the doctor figures out who they are, especially who Charles is and what he's working on. And then she's like, well, I need to get one of the guardians or Kasavan aliens to come and take me back to the present where my companions are. And so she uses her sonic screwdriver on one of the Kasavan, but instead of going back to her time, they end up going to 1940, I believe it was 43, where they meet a British spy named Noor Khan. And if you know anything about history in that regard with D-Day and, with the Holocaust as a whole, she's a British undercover spy who basically, they called her codename Madeline, but I think she had a different name in reality. But a code name in reality. But she was masquerading as a German communications officer, but she was sending Nazi intel back and forth to the Brits. And she does get caught in real life or in the past, and she ends up getting sent to a concentration camp where they beat, torture, and execute her. Because I remember reading about that when I was in high school. Not just about her, but other spies that were with her and other ones throughout history during the cause. So yeah, that was interesting. But so they meet Noor, and she hides the doctor and Ada, who basically tagged along with the doctor because she wasn't going to be left behind, under the floorboards where, the doctor sees her communication gear, which that's how she knows that's Noor Khan. And so the doctor uses that to her advantage by having Noor transmit a message while the doctor is going to meet the master on the Eiffel Tower, saying that the British really appreciate all of the intel that the master had given them. So basically setting the master up. And the master had been masquerading as a German soldier, which was really ticking the doctor off, which if you've watched previous, incarnations of the doctor, then you know why. Not a Nazi fan, but then why would you be? And so they come to arrest the doctor, but not before the master, number one, drops a bombshell that Gallifrey is destroyed. Somebody destroyed it, which the doctor doesn't believe. And then number two, his plan is to take out Daniel Barton and the Kasavans, once they are done with their master plan that the doctor still hasn't worked out yet. So she recorded this conversation on her sonic screwdriver and then let him know that the Germans were coming to get him for being a traitor. And she also wanted to know why they basically would let him be a Nazi, because, you know, he's like Indian or Pakistani. I don't know which nationality he is supposed to be in the show, but he's ethnic like me. He's not going to be, you know, he's not the Aryan perfection that the Nazi Party was obsessed with. But he was using some kind of image inducer, so they saw that and not what he actually looked like at the time. So I think she smashed that, and they arrested him. And I'm not sure how he got out of there, but I know it took him 77 years. That's what but she got the master out of the way. And when she got him out of the way, she was able to move forward to figure out the rest of the plan. Side note, Daniel Barton. We know now why he is only, 93% human and 7% alien? It's because he allowed the Kasavan to experiment on him. Because he's messed up. But what we have learned of the master plan, the master, Barton, and the Kasavans, is they do think that humans are outdated and useless and waste of space, and that the only thing that we're good for is space, meaning we're only good to hold data as a hard drive. And their master plan is to wipe out all human DNA simultaneously by using this little like silver structured female that they made, like this like silver, not really statue, but like some kind of framework, silver framework that Barton had in his office that's actually a transmitter that the Kasavans all will enter through and then enter out into everyone's device simultaneously around the world, essentially killing every human being except for a few for maintenance, which is messed up. But while the master was out of the way, the doctor had time to figure out all of the rest of the plan. Like all the people that were taken were all to do with data and with computations. So she figured out that they're trying to get rid of humans. So they were able to sabotage the machine in their time where they were. And that way, when the companions were in the warehouse with Barton's dead mother, who was the first victim or the first hard drive, it wouldn't be able to work on everyone, because Yaz was holding like the tablet, and once you hold the tablet and it starts, you can't let go until your DNA is completely rewritten, but it stopped working. And so the doctor essentially saves the day, but then she forgot about the plane because they mentioned, like, Ryan's like, how did you know the plane was going to go down? They're like, crap. So it was at that moment when she remembered the plane and went back and then made a contingency plan to make the computer be underneath the floorboard and all that lovely stuff, which essentially saves the companions. So, but I think the cutest part of that scene is when she's staring and she's like, I love a laminator, which is really, really funny because so do I. But yeah, so moving forward, save the day. She takes Ada and Nora back to their respective times and wipes their memory. And then she goes to Gallifrey to follow up on the Gallifrey being destroyed comment that the master made. But not before, I kind of skipped a little bit or a part. So when they do save the day, the master gets taken by the Kasavan because when the doctor had recorded the conversation with the sonic screwdriver, she played it. And the Kasavans heard it and took him and put him in the tendril world. So he's now in isolation. So anyway, she goes to Gallifrey and it's destroyed. And he said someone destroyed it, but she finds this message from him saying, if you're here, then you know that Gallifrey is destroyed and that someone, but what I didn't tell you is that someone destroyed it was me. And then he goes on to say the reason he destroyed it was because the founders of Gallifrey were liars and they were lied to, that their identity and everything that they are is a lie, and that they have memories, repressed memories of the timeless child, and that their identities are connected to the timeless child. So he destroyed them. And then he tells the doctor, well, if you want to know more, figure it out because nobody told me. So you need to do the work too, basically. So it's getting real, people. Timeless Child, the storyline is now in full force. So, and Gallifrey is gone. And even though it was in a bubble, like Kandor, if you want to read DC Comics, Krypton was in a bubble universe, it was destroyed in the bubble universe. So it is a mess. I am super excited for the future episodes. I don't think we're going to see it in the next episode because it looks like they go to some kind of like fantasy resort or whatever and stuff gets real. But I don't think the next episode is connected to the plot. But I think going forward, the rest of the season's probably going to start picking up towards the Timeless Child and what is really going on with Gallifrey. And I am super excited. So yeah, that was the second part of Spyfall. I loved this episode. I am so sorry if I let something out because, you know, my format is I just review it and I try not to edit anything. So if I left something out, please let me know and leave a comment below. And also, if you would like to sign up for jury duty, hit the subscribe button. If you'd like to know who's next on the Nerd Ballot, hit the notification bell. Until next time, I can't wait for you to approach the nerd. Bye, guys. And if you have time, don't forget to check out some of these other videos.